falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
All right. To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio. The new format for this production is where we each pick a topic or article that we'd like to cover, and we try to take a bit of a deep dive into it using critical thinking, compassion, and skepticism. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Sarah.
Hello.
Lisa.
Oh, hi.
Angela is no longer with us.
On the podcast.
She's not dead.
She's not dead.
Yeah, jeez, that's so dark.
We think.
So dark.
And, of course, the always amazing Dave doing sound.
Hello.
We're here in Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan for the last time.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, but for
now.
Yeah, for the
foreseeable
future. That's how I usually word things.
Yeah. Today is January 18th, 2019. And, yeah. So we're going to do a science segment.
Me first or Sarah first?
I think we might even have a bumper still.
If you base medicine on science, you cure people. If you base the design of planes on science, they fly. If you base the design of rockets on science, they reach the moon. It works. Bitches.
Yes, science!
All right.
I really hate his smudgy act. I'm sorry.
I'm not a fan of Dawkins anyway, so I really think it's worth changing.
Killing people. You're not killing anyone with medicine. I mean, you probably sometimes do, but
Curing.
it's not the point. I know you kill people. Kill people. It sounds like kill. I can find you a better quote. I must be able to find you a better quote. I'm going to work
Jesse
on this.
Pinkman's science bitches.
Yeah, just keep
from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's right.
How about like an actual scientist? He's not an old British guy who's annoying. I don't like his smuggy voice.
He was a scientist once.
I know. I'd say he's a scientist. I'm not saying that. He's just a smugginess.
Pretentious.
He really. It's that. Yeah, I think it's a reason people don't like atheists sometimes because some atheists like him are like smuggy.
Token atheist, right?
Well, he's just he's propagating. Anyways. Me first.
You first.
Yes. Okay. So, I want to, oh man, how do I explain all this? Okay. So my background is in astronomy. So I chose a topic in astronomy. A few months ago on the podcast, you might have remembered me being like, there's a public talk in astronomy. You should totally come. So I went to it. And it was a lady from an astronomer from McGill named Vicky Caspi who gave a talk on, I didn't even know what it was going to be about. I just showed up because I knew she did like neutron stars and stuff. I thought it would be like high energy stars stuff. It totally wasn't about that. And it actually was about a topic I had no idea about. I'd never heard of it before. And so I thought it was really cool. So, and then there's been a really important recent discovery by a Canadian telescope like last week. So on this topic. So that's why I kind of chose it. And it's super interesting. So this is about fast radio bursts, FRBs. So I might say FRBs instead of saying fast radio bursts because that's what scientists do. We make acronyms. So, okay. So, you think astronomy, there's lots of astronomical objects out there. There's planets, there's comets, there's galaxies, there's clusters, there's blah, 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 blah. Okay. There's stuff we know about. Okay. We even know about exotic things like black holes and active galactic nuclei and quasars and neutron stars and all, fancy schmancy things. But honestly, in my experience in astronomy, I'd never heard of a new type of object that had been discovered. But in 2007, a new type of object was discovered. Okay. So this is interesting. It was actually discovered from archive data, which means some professor told his grad students to pore over data, and this data happened to be 6 years old. So it's from 2001. And actually, astronomers crunch through data. Like, it's not, lots of data is observed, and a lot of astronomers actually just have whole careers where they don't actually take new observations. They just pore through old observations.
Right.
Oh yeah. There's even people who try to find and archive like really old stuff, like say 100-year-old photographic plates,
cow.
right? And then digitize it and to get information from it. Anyway, but the student used 2001 data in 2007, and he found a bright burst of radio waves. So we call it a fast radio burst. So basically what we've found is that there are these super, super bright, very strong flashes of radio waves.
Okay.
Okay. They come from all over the sky. Okay. And they only last for a few, a fraction of a millisecond to a few milliseconds. So very, very short.
Wow.
Okay. Now, so when we say radio, it's not like we use radio waves with radios to, have music and words and stuff, right? But this is, when we say radio in this context, we just mean a type of light, right? So there's light we see, there's microwaves, ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, X-rays, blah, 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 all different kinds of light. Radio waves are one of the longest, lowest energy forms of light. Okay, so that's the spectrum, the area of light that we're looking at. Okay, so and it's interesting. Even these things are relatively given how far away we now think they are. They're super, super, super high energy. They're really, really bright, very short flashes. However, it's sort of like, in terms of what strength we measure, by the time it gets to us, it's measuring the strength of the signal reaching Earth 1,000 times less than from a mobile phone on the moon.
Oh, geez.
So they're actually not very bright
really
as we see them, but they're actually, I guess I'll come to the point, they're actually billions of light years away. So the light has been traveling to us for billions of years, and that's how strong we met,
Wow.
But so they were originally very bright because, I think that's a good way to start. So these are the FRBs that we've discovered. So there's actually only been maybe 60 FRBs that have ever been discovered. They're really hard to discover because you don't know. So all of them except 2 don't repeat. So they happen once and they never happen again. And so you have to just sort of happen to kind of see them. And the vast majority of them that have been discovered were mined out of archives, so out of data that had been taken, but and then you look for this later. Okay. So it's hard to know when it's going to happen. The sky is really big, and it's hard to know when it's going to happen. And with radio waves, it's actually also really hard to pinpoint exactly where it came from. So we only know about 60 about them. It's about 60 of them. They are bright, unresolved, meaning they're like a point, and they're broadband. They don't, not just one, it's not like a laser of radio waves. There's a whole spectrum of radio waves that come out. And because it passes through so much medium to get to us, like lots of galaxies, and interstellar medium, intergalactic medium, blah, 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 all the wavelengths are actually, the different wavelengths get spread out. So the highest wavelength stuff reaches us first, and then the slightly lower wavelength reaches us next. The next fraction of a second, and then the next one. So it all kind of comes in over the course of like a few milliseconds, but it's actually spread out slightly, and we can actually get information about the material it passed through.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so that happened, and there's these point-length sources. So most of them, here's an interesting factoid. Most of them were discovered at first with the Parkes radio telescope in Australia. However, right around, 2010-ish, Parkes started saying that they'd actually measured something in real time. They'd actually detected 16 or so in real time.
Okay.
Called but they were a little bit weird, and so they looked like a fast radio burst. Like their spectrum looked the same, and they were the right frequency. Blah blah blah. And they named them. Oh, this is really funny. Peritons, and they were just like, what are these things? Blah, blah, blah. The only thing that made them, the only way you could tell that they were different than the other stuff, or that people maybe thought they might be different, is that you could detect them with more than one antenna at once. The other ones were very specific, very directional. Only this direct, but this one you were getting them in a wider field of view. So 5 years later, after they really dug into it, they actually had a guy write a paper, and he had to write a paper that says that actually these peritons that they had detected were actually caused by a microwave oven that people use to heat up their lunch at the building next to the telescope.
Oh, no.
Because they found that they mostly only were detected during the daytime, and they peaked around noon and blah, blah. And it turns out that if people put on the microwave and then open the microwave without hitting stop first, if they just a few got it, and then the telescope would detect it, and it happened to look really, really, really similar to the fast radio burst.
Oh, geez.
Anyways, that's kind of a funny little fact. But there's actual paper on this and why they're, it's hilarious, honestly. It was eventually also seen by other radio telescopes. We know it's not just a Parkes radio telescope thing. And Vicky Caspi, the one who gave the talk, estimated that there's as many as 10,000 FRBs per day in the sky. So there's a lot of them. We just... you have to be looking in that, with that telescope in that area when it happens. So the sky's big. So it's very interesting. So this is a brand new type of object that's been discovered in the last just over 10 years that we never knew anything about. So in 2012, so it was actually Vicky Caspi's grad student, discovered a repeating FRB. So you look in one spot of the sky and it happened over and over again. It didn't happen periodically. It's not like it happened every 14 days or anything like that. It would happen, 5 times in an hour and then not at all for weeks. And then it would happen again. And then it was just once and then not for a month. And then, it was irregular, but
it's still repeated, yeah.
And the long and short of it is astronomers actually don't know what this is. There's all sorts of ideas out there about what it could possibly be, like any, black hole things and special high energy star things. Some people try to figure out, could it be, extraterrestrials, and this is the exhaust from their spaceship sort of thing. Nobody. I mean, I don't think that one's taken too seriously, but nobody actually knows what it is. But knowing that having the one that they saw in 2012 that repeats means that it can't be like a big cataclysmic event, like a once and done, right? It has to be something that can repeat. There's all sorts of theories, but nobody knows what it is. So blah, blah, blah. I'm going to move to, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm interested in this topic. Okay. So, this seems like a separate topic, but I'm going to bring it back in. So, a bunch of Canadian astronomers decided to build a telescope near Penticton, BC. Penticton, BC is the home of the Dominion Radio Astronomical Observatory, DRAO. And they decided to build CHIME. CHIME stands for the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment. What they wanted to do is use hydrogen in the universe, like that they're observing from a billion to 7 billion years ago. So from when the universe is about half of its current age, and they wanted to look at it and map out what, because I don't know if you guys know this, but the universe is actually accelerating. The universe is expanding. It's the space between galaxies is all getting bigger and bigger with time.
Right.
But that process is actually speeding up with time. The distance between galaxies is actually getting more and more faster and faster and faster. It's accelerating, and we don't know why. We attribute it to something we call dark energy, but nobody knows why. Anyway, so we're going to use hydrogen to look at that. That's what they built this telescope to do. It's a really cool telescope. It basically looks like 4 half pipes. They're shaped like half pipes, and it doesn't look like a satellite. You see the movie Contact. It kind of looks like a big giant satellite dish radio telescope. No, it looks like half pipe, 4 of them, and you can't point it at anything. It's just huge, and it uses the rotation of the Earth to just sweep across the sky. So it actually can see half the sky in the night. It actually looks at so it sweeps half the sky every night, every single night, and it uses all these supercomputers and all this fancy schmancy stuff to do it. What's really cool, I looked it up. It costs $16 million. That is
it's dirty cheap.
Astronomically cheap, pun intended. Okay.
Cheap.
It is something like Hubble Space Telescope cost, I think, originally $2 billion. Plus, who knows how many billions have been put into it. And most major telescopes who can make major contributions cost close to $1 billion, hundreds of millions, certainly. Yeah. So $16 million. That's funding from multiple different granting agencies and different, you see American universities who contribute millions and millions of dollars, such that tens of millions, so that they're part of a big major telescope. But you have University of BC and Toronto being able to contribute enough to this. It's really cool, and a lot of it's just because we have the expertise here to do a lot of this. We can program the computers ourselves. We can build these antennas ourselves. And there's some things it's just like hardware for computers has gotten so cheap in terms of processing, they're able to do it. It's just so cool. So they created Chime in order to map the hydrogen and figure out things about dark energy. And then this whole thing about fast radio bursts came up, and they're like, holy fuck, we can look for fast radio bursts too. And they realized they can actually do a better job than anyone has ever done. And they've already discovered, like, I mean, it's only been officially commissioned since like September. So it's like less than 6 months. Oh, wow. And they've already detected something stupid, like almost 20 or something like that. They've detected a ton of them already, and there was only 60 known before, right? They're going to detect lots and lots and lots. But the really cool thing, and then I'm coming back to the announcement that was last week. And so, by the way, if you've ever noticed, there's a lot of astronomy announcements in early January. It's because the annual American Astronomical Society has their meeting in January every year. Okay. And then they always try to time their press releases because like all the astronomers are together. That's always when they come out. Anyway, so that's where they came out then. Long and short of it is, Chime has discovered the second ever repeating FRB. Okay. So, I mean, we know that the first one wasn't a coincidence. We know that the first one was... can happen again. So and they actually only discovered it when they were commissioning the telescope. It wasn't even fully operational yet. They discovered it last August. So it's really, really cool. We have no idea what it is. We're pretty sure they're extragalactic. These signals are coming from outside of our galaxy. We think that because they're coming from everywhere, and because they think they might have found the counterpart galaxy that the first repeating fast radio burst from 2012 came from. It's like a little tiny dwarf thing. Like it's not even anything. It's like anyways. And so we think they're coming from billions of light years away, different galaxies. And they're happening all the time, and we have no idea what the fuck they are. So I just think that's so cool. And then there's a huge Canadian component to this because we have Canadian astronomers building like the world's best telescope to do this for like chump change. Yeah, which is so cool. It's total so cool. Chump change. Yeah, anyways.
It's neat.
Sorry, I hope I didn't lose anyone there, but I just think it's really cool.
No, that was very interesting.
Yeah, FRBs. Canadian.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think I even have any follow-up questions. That was
I'm not thorough. Sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, like I don't.
I was wondering why because I read some of them were like the light was polarized.
Yeah,
how does that happen?
So they think like just like when you have like polarized sunglasses, basically it just means that light
when it's
traveling, light could have like be in any direction as it's going. A light wave of light is going. It could be rotated in any direction. So polarized light usually means that it's been kind of selected, like by your sunglasses, to have only light of one direction, like coming through, basically, or one orientation. Polarization. So some of them are polarized, and they think it might have to do with where it originated. It would be subjected to really strong magnetic fields. The magnetic fields would pull all the polarization of the light in one direction and then send it off towards us. So they're not all polarized, though. The repeating one is, which I believe might even been the first one that they found that was polarized. Yeah, they're not all polarized. Some of them are. Some of them aren't.
So yeah, like literally,
they don't know what the fuck they are.
The only thing I know about polarized light is that like if you shoot it at pure enantiomers, it'll rotate the plane of the polarized light.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't know something's like a chiral molecule. It has to be chiral though. So we had like a polarimetry machine that just shoots polarized light at the molecule, and you're like, yep, it rotated, so we know it's chiral. Or only one. Oh, well, like only the left-handed version of the molecule, and not a mixture of left and right. Because it's really hard to separate.
Also useful, like if you're boating. Polarized sunglasses gets rid of the glare.
Yeah, I made the mistake of buying non-polarized sunglasses, and I deeply regret it.
Anyways, but yeah, no, that's true.
Interesting.
Yeah, super cool.
No, that was. I don't know. I don't have anything I can.
It's so cool. It is so cool.
It is very cool.
Well, and like it's basically this whole new field. Like you can spend your
that's
entire
what I find bizarre.
That,
like,
right?
I mean, we've known about. Like, I mean, there's no. When I started in astronomy, there's not like there's a type of object that I didn't know about before. Yeah. I mean, how much stuff could there be out there? And then I was like, holy fuck! Like this thing that's flashing 10,000 times a day. And we just never knew it was there until 2007. Like, and I don't think they actually detected it live and like for like 5 years after that. Like, it took a while. Like, it's super. I don't know, this young stuff. I don't know, and we just have no idea what it is. I love that about science. Like, you can just no idea. Theorists have ideas, maybe, but like then they put out papers, but they're all different, and we can't constrain any of them right now.
There's no way to know for sure at this point.
just gotta get more data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Super cool.
It'll be neat to see what the
But
next
yeah, so like if you
few
do have like a statistically significant sample, right, then you can start making assertions about it. And also, I mean, like, yeah, you worry that if you're mining previous data, that previous data was taken with something else in mind, some other reason in mind. So that would be biased, right? So what you want to do is a survey like this that samples the whole sky.
Yeah.
Let's just get everything and just see what we get. It's super interesting.
It'll be super cool.
Right on.
See where it goes. My
All right,
next.
your turn.
So mine's more of like a archaeological thing because I couldn't find any cool chemistry stuff. So. So basically, these archaeologists were looking at dental plaque from what turned out to be a woman. According to radiocarbon dating, she lived around 997 to 1162, and she was buried at a woman's monastery in Germany. So they were looking at the plaque, and like they're looking for, let's see if we can find things about how diet was, and maybe environmental things like pollen and stuff. But they found this really bright blue stuff, and then finally figured out by making a lot of phone calls to a lot of confused people, saying like, we found this really blue stuff in plaque. And they're like, I don't know how to help you. I don't what do you, like physicists were like, I don't know what you want from me. And then the art community was like, why are you looking at like teeth gunk? Like, I don't understand. So finally they figured it out, that it was Lapis Lazuli, which is like a type of rock that's very like blue and was used way, way back in the day, ground up really fine as to be a brilliant blue dye. So it was super, super valuable, like more valuable than gold at the time, and would have been used basically to paint the robes of various angels and the Virgin Mary and stuff like that, because that's how you wouldn't use it on like a depiction of a peasant of some sort. It was only for, the highest ranking angels and Mary.
What would they think of blue Skittles? You gotta wonder.
What do they what?
What would they think of blue Skittles? Anyways,
Yeah.
it's only for the rich.
Yeah.
And the most elite. Sorry.
Yeah, so they're, making these manuscripts. So the kind of interesting thing, a bit of a maybe feminist slant, is that it was found in a woman's tartar, and it was previously thought, that women weren't good enough painters to do these things. It was just the monks, not the nuns, that did it. And so, of course, some people are like, well, she might have been she might have just been cleaning it. The room. No, cleaning the room and just inhaled some of the powder. And it's like, but it was like too valuable. It wasn't just like something you dusted off the, off the countertop kind of thing. So the prevailing theory, they did find out that some of the manuscripts around this time period, of course, were signed by men. Some were unsigned, so you don't know if it's men or women, but some were actually signed by women very close to this area and that time period. So this kind of adds further, credence to that claim that there were some sisters who were such skilled painters to be allowed to even use this stuff.
Neat.
So it's kind of fun. And then I like the last kind of paragraph. So they're saying like the stuff of everyday life accumulates in the gunk that modern dentists are so vigilant about scrubbing off. And the quote is, they aren't thinking of future archaeologists. Because they're looking for
current dental health.
Yeah, well, they're
assholes.
looking in dental plaque of really old skeletons to see all, diet and fibers and stuff. And so that kind of grossed me out to think that I just assumed plaque on my teeth was just like plaque. It wasn't embedded with things from my environment. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure I still go to the dentist, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I find that, if women, if a need is there, women are allowed to do stuff. Look at during World War II when all the men were off fighting in wars, then women, manned the factories because needed to happen. And turns out they're capable. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know how much of a necessarily need there was, because you would have had to have. But if you're good. Yeah, but how did you even get those skills in the first place if, so it had to have been, they're maybe given lower level work with like maybe no pigments and just like the brown.
But some people can make
stuff,
things happen. You know what I mean? Some people, if you have such an interest in a skill, you get good at it, irrespective if you're only a woman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and again, for this time and stuff. So it's just kind of interesting from that perspective, both that they found something so valuable in somebody's tartar and that, kind of shows that, women can do stuff even back then. And they're really good at it. Such to get the most expensive of dyes.
Yeah.
To paint Virgin Mary robes and such.
Cool.
Totes.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all I got.
All right.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
Hey everybody, we're the Utah Outcasts, and we want you to listen to our show.
We're a rowdy bunch of super liberal atheists that reside in the state of Utah, who bring you current events and featured content on a semi-weekly basis.
Whether it's us poking fun at the religious right or ranting at the world in which we all reside, we want to borrow your ears for about an hour twice a week.
Hey, and don't forget to tell them the best part about it.
Oh yeah!
The show's free for all.
It is indeed, so if you like free, we're available through iTunes, Overcast, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, Patreon, and even in full HD video via YouTube. Give us a listen. You won't be sorry.
I don't know if I had a bumper in the playlist for mine or not.
Does
but
medicine kill people in your bumper?
I don't know. It used to be the What's the Deal one, but
Oh, that's here.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Dun, dun, dun.
What's the deal with Aquaman?
What's the deal with decaf?
What's the deal with lampshade? What's the deal with...
What's the deal with the yellow vest movement?
Oh, yeah. You have a bee in your bonnet about that.
Yeah.
I don't know enough
I'm
about
so
this.
glad you said something about it on Facebook, by the way, because I was driving on the Albert Street Bridge and I was like, who are all these fuckers? Oh, Cory talked about this.
Yeah.
Cory has a hate on for them.
We know people who are like mutual friends on Facebook who
Right, eh?
advocate
Yellow
for
vesters?
them. Ugh.
Yeah, like the yellow vest movement or Mouvement des Gilets Jaunes is a populist grassroots movement for economic justice that started in France in November of last year, 2018. It was mostly made up of working class people, and the movement was known for its concerns over high fuel prices and the high cost of living, which made life more difficult for the working class. They called for and are still calling for lower fuel taxes, more taxation on the wealthy, minimum wage increases, and Macron's resignation from his role as president of France. In France, it is generally considered a leftist movement, but also has some people within it who claim to be on the right or who voted for far-right candidates. The protests are considered by many to be positive in nature and impact, calling those in power to account and disrupting things as much as necessary to make the government take notice of them and to do change things, to make things change. They wear the yellow vests as a symbol because since 2008 in France, by law, all motorists are required to have high-vis vests in their vehicles while driving. They are reasonably inexpensive and easily recognizable. So make for an easy symbol. About the politics of the French movement, it's a broad movement with supporters from across the political spectrum, but a group of journalists looked at the Yellow Vests' 42 directives and came to the conclusion that about 2/3 of them were closer to the radical left positions than other political groups. But about half of them could also be compatible with far-right viewpoints because populism happens on both sides of the political spectrum. Almost all of the directives were about as far from centrists or liberals as one can get. They were all extreme left or extreme right, or extreme left for most of them. After looking at an article on Le Monde and scrolling through the different directives and seeing which political leaders would be on the board with them, I would say that beyond anything, the French Yellow Vests are an anti-centrist movement that is specifically concerned with the troubles that working class people face. It's anti-neoliberalism in a lot of ways. Of course, the similarity to my own views seems to fade away once you go into other countries. Belgium isn't too bad. There isn't too different. Like, they're still concerned with the same things as the French movement. Apparently, the prices of fuel in Belgium are even more expensive than in France, and then these carbon taxes are going to hit them even more. It said the article I read said that the price of fuel in Belgium was 2.1 times the price of fuel in France.
Wow.
So, I mean, which is more expensive than it is here.
By a lot, I'm sure.
So, yeah, it really hurts people when the price of fuel goes up in those countries. One thing I noted about Belgium was that they actually have a law against hooliganism, they called it, which is supposedly supposed to deter violent protests, but whether or not it's effective is still being figured out, I guess. In the UK, in London, the leader of the Yellow Vest movement there was arrested a couple weeks ago before being released the next day, and for like uttering threats and kind of, I don't know, the things he was saying sounded like he was planning on starting a war with the rest of the citizens. And they seem to have a lot of far-right, anti-immigrant, and pro-Brexit ideas in their Yellow Vest movement. There is a smaller movement right now in London that is trying to take the symbol of the Yellow Vest back for the left side of the political spectrum. Confusing. It is. And there are, like I said, like Yellow Vests in a number of countries, and they all have different nuances and vary in their political ideas. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the Canadian ones.
Tell us why.
Yeah. They are anti-immigrant, pro-pipeline, anti-Trudeau. They tend to blame Justin Trudeau for every problem in society, and they want him tried for treason and hung.
Okay, but he can't be responsible for handsomeness. You know what I mean?
True. That's true. Just born that way, right?
So handsome.
They're also incredibly Islamophobic, like actually Islamophobic, not I criticize Islamic doctrine, but brown people are scary.
Yeah.
They hate Jagmeet Singh, and it's not because they actually know anything about him. They think he's a Muslim because they don't know the difference between a Sikh and a Muslim. All they really know is that he's got brown skin and isn't Christian. The Canadian Yellow Vest movement has also been tied to leaders of various white supremacist groups and fascist groups like the Sons of Odin. In their Facebook group, they regularly talk about killing Justin Trudeau and sharing fake news while complaining about non-white immigrants, Indigenous people, and other people of color.
How do you not get arrested for uttering threats against?
Well,
A, anybody, but B, especially the Prime Minister.
I'm not sure how you avoid it, but so far I mean, the RCMP is watching their Facebook group, but they haven't arrested anybody.
I guess, do you need to have like a credible threat? Like, I'm going to show up here one day and do this, or if it's like something related to bombs, if you're just like randomly kill this person and without specifying your method, you get away with it? Is that?
Yeah, I think I think it's stuff like that. So essentially, their Facebook group is a bullshit factory of racist shitbags to complain about all things progressive, leftist, or liberal. In Saskatchewan, we have had yellow vests that block roads with their diesel trucks in Estevan. In Regina, they walk around with anti-immigration signs. And in Weyburn, they stood on the side of the road and waved to supporters because Weyburn is a shitty town and everybody fucking agrees with them. There are some pages devoted to keeping on top of what's going on. There's the, Yellow Vests Exposed or Canadian Yellow Vests Exposed Facebook page and Twitter account. And the Canadian Anti-Racist Coalition keeps an eye on them quite a bit. Beyond that, I think most places in the world have a mixture of right and left political ideas in their yellow vest movements, and with the intent or possibly the effect of changing things for the benefit of the working class. And a couple places have accidentally or intentionally let the far right take it over completely and co-opt the message. The UK has a counter movement, and we do not. So,
is there one in the States?
There was nothing that I could find.
Oh, because, I hadn't heard anything either, but that just...
They've got enough problems. They're just, they're saturated. They're done.
Yeah, I guess they don't need yellow vests.
They wear red hats.
Yeah,
red
I
hats.
guess. Yeah, that's okay. Good point. I truly don't understand how anybody is anti-immigrant in this country. Because, our immigration is merit-based and quite strict. Again, after having conversations with somebody who was whatever, I sent them the scoring system and said I'm curious whether you would make it into Canada. And I did my score based on what I knew about them. I'm like, I don't think you would actually.
Right.
So you're complaining about immigrants. Theoretically, they're all better than you on paper, at least. Right. So it's
right.
I feel like you could be against immigration if you're First Nations.
100%.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't, because even just the argument that, my grandfather was the first person in his family born in this country.
Yeah.
So because mom was pregnant with him on the ship over
right.
here. So I don't know.
Yeah, with that,
I better not be talking against immigrants because
but you know what? I don't, and maybe I just don't have an audience with them, but I don't hear them being the ones that complain when they have the most right to complain. They don't. But I'm just saying, it's just other than First Nations people. Okay.
We're all pretty new immigrants.
I'm referring to the people that I'm hearing that are constantly bitching about immigration.
The people, the people who are anti-immigrant, don't think that we're immigrants, though. They think that we're Canadians and that this is Canadian land, and they don't even acknowledge that it was ever Indigenous land at all.
No, and even when you say you're all immigrants, that was back then, but now it's bad.
No, but it wasn't
not even
that 100 years ago. It was 70 years ago. Or less. A lot of people.
Any different? We still have a shit ton of space, and a pretty low population density.
Well, does our economy not rely on immigration?
100%.
Yes.
We don't have enough children to support. We need immigrants, and that's just that. So what is your alternative, or what's your I don't think, because it's just the person I was talking to, he's like, well, their children don't speak English and they're all in the schools, so now nobody's gonna learn how to speak English properly because
I grew up in Northeast Calgary. I can tell you straight up, all children who move here. What happens, in my experience, is people come here, and as soon as your children kind of mix in with everyone else, they keep some of their values and some of their family traditions, and it's lovely, and you get the best curry. But then you also get a moderating influence from Canadian culture, like it mix it, right? So then, they want to, whatever, not have an arranged marriage or whatever it may be. And then, it doesn't take very many generations before people are largely integrated, but still actually keep a nice, a good, their culture as well. Like, it's nice. It's lovely.
A lot of us have, like,
and that's traditionally how it's, exactly how
is
it's
that
been in
Canadian?
Canada. Yeah. Exactly.
I was the first one in my family born in Canada, and I don't feel like I'm struggling to integrate.
Right, eh?
No, you're
I don't know, Mr. Dr. Pepper. That looks pretty Chilean to me.
Oh, geez. Oh.
Yeah. I guess I didn't mention it. A lot of times when you talk to these people or you listen to them, they're talking about Canadian values. They always like to do the dog whistle of Canadian
acceptance and...
I feel like a lot of these people have just literally like never met a Muslim or never met, you know what I mean? Like, whereas like I grew up, I mean, like I said, being in the Northeast, I mean, I ran for student council as vice president, and my co-runner was a Muslim guy, and like it was just I don't know.
This is just how it is.
You just integrate. I don't know. I've known lots of Muslims and lots of Sikhs and lots of Hindus.
I went
and lots
to Catholic schools. I knew a bunch of Catholics and like people that were close enough to Catholic.
But even if you go to Catholic school, you know lots of immigrants. The Filipinos, holy crap, right? Like,
yeah,
there's so many Catholic Filipinos. They are supporting the Catholic Church, man.
Some of the Facebook
Calgary,
pages that support the Saskatchewan and Canadian Yellow Vest movement are also like pretty bad with the conspiracy theories, and like they talk about George Soros, and they have the globalist dog whistle, and
like why does all of that shit just go hand in hand? Like, why do you got to be a nutcase in like every facet of life?
Because racism is pseudoscience, and it's based on.
I guess, that makes perfect sense. Never mind. I'll shut my damn mouth.
No, it's something that like. Those overt racists, those white supremacists,
they believe that we are better than you, and I guess.
Yeah, they actually believe in the myth of genetic superiority.
Well, because like nobody has a problem. Like if I came over here and I had an Australian accent and I said I'm as an immigrant, no one would be like, "Oh, I'm against immigrants," right? Like no one's against those immigrants.
No, that's right.
So
it's not an immigration thing
that they're against, right?
Yeah, it's not a immigrants are taking our job thing.
I read an interesting article.
I don't like brown people.
A few years ago now, it was that white people actually even get a special name if they're an immigrant. They call themselves. You call yourself an expat. If you're white and if you go to another country, if you like, I had lots of friends who called themselves expats. I'm like, oh, I lived in Abu Dhabi for 3 years. My dad worked there, and we were expats. I'm like, what the fuck is that? An expat's just a white immigrant.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Because white people have to have a special.
White people get a special name for being immigrants.
We're so boring. We need to be special somehow.
You got to be
just
special.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It is largely like about the framing, right? Like if we use this name for the white ones, then we can make them different.
Yeah.
We can say, oh, well, these ones
immigrant
are good.
means like it's like remember when Hurricane Katrina happened and people were talking about the refugees coming out of New Orleans, right?
Right.
And like and everyone, all the Americans that were up in arms, like, we don't have refugees in the United States. Well, actually, no. This is what a refugee is. Like, you think of refugees as people you don't give a shit about, which is why you don't want to call these people refugees. But actually, refugees is a person who'd rather not fucking be there. Right? They want to be at home. That's what that is.
But they can't be for whatever reason.
So. Yeah, no, that word applies, and actually you just need more compassion for the refugees, not finding a different word for your refugees. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So since this is our first show of 2019 and our last show for a while in the studio, I thought that maybe we could try to...
Trash the studio?
Trash the studio? Smash some shit?
Right.
No.
Start with...
Please, no.
No.
What do I need? A new computer.
A new computer, yeah. No, I thought we could, if we can remember any, what are some interviews or segments from the year that were good?
From 2018?
Yeah.
Oh, it was all shit.
Was it all shit?
We were crap.
It was just garbage, hey?
Okay, no, let me think. What was a good interview that I really... Okay, no, go to somebody else first while I think.
Well, I came
I do this at
around
restaurants,
so
too.
late, so I don't remember when was my first one. It was like fall, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, November.
Probably my favorite one was, it would have been like bonus content where like it ended up being 3 a.m.
That's always the best.
Because we were just
I
all
got to drink
sitting
more
around
tea so I can do that.
talking.
I liked the, you know who really like kind of gave me an aha moment sort of thing. And I didn't think I was gonna like. I wasn't like, oh, this is a guy I'm looking forward to. You know, the psychic.
yeah,
Bob Nygaard.
What's it called? The psychic investigator. Was that what he was?
He was great.
He was so insightful, and I'm just like, yeah, con art. Like, and he's so mad about them and the conning of people. Because I always just kind of saw the 1-900 numbers of getting your as just like stupid. But yeah, it's preying on people. It's terrible. And he was so interesting. And his accent was fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I just loved him. I loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, that was a good one. I actually can't think of a specific one that I was like, oh yeah, this is fucking.
What about my friend Marianne? She was cool.
Awesome.
She was smart. She's just
I just friended her the other day, actually.
Yeah. Oh, you'll be interested. She's so interesting. She always just posts interesting things, and also pictures of her kids, but other interesting things.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah,
Her kids are adorable. She makes cute pictures of kids. Anyways,
Jen Gunter was really good. I know that was her last one, but but she was really good.
She was really good.
Yeah.
I looked forward to that one.
I mean, I did some interviews on my own with like Peter Coffin, which I really enjoyed, and I don't know. I did quite a few interviews on outside of the studio that I really enjoyed. But
who is the guy who wrote the parenting book? I can't remember his name. The
parenting book. Did I miss this one? Oh shit!
Because I actually went out and bought his book after. That was like,
oh, was that right? Yeah, that was the Earthborn.
Earthbound Parent. Isn't it an interesting little book?
Oh, that I don't. Yeah. I liked. This was in an interview, but Leo did a piece on carbon taxes, like an in-depth piece on that. Right. That was I learned shit.
Oh man,
he's
Leo.
learned. He knows shit. Leo, come back. Teach us more of your book learning. Tell us shit.
Been here for a long time.
Come back, Leo. Well, it hasn't been that long. I know it was in this studio, so.
Yeah, it was probably like middle of the year or something.
Yeah.
Come back, Leo.
It's been a while, though.
Yeah.
He's probably listening because he listens every time.
Yeah.
He loves us.
Maybe.
Totally is.
Now I got to figure out who wrote Earthbound Parent because we have to like name drop, right? We can't.
Richard A. Kahn Jr.
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, it popped into my head.
It doesn't often happen that I go like buy something after somebody talks. So
right.
That's
I went and bought my friend
endorsement.
My friend Jillian. I bought her book Astroquizzical. I went and bought it right after this. I actually gifted it as a Christmas present to my sister-in-law. Yeah. So she's really excited. She loves science. So
that's cool.
You know, in terms of favorite memories, it's unfortunate that Richard Carrier turned into such a loser, but when he was here, it was a really interesting episode. Like it was actually like
that was.
Is that the guy from the atheist thing? Fuck. I dropped a stitch.
He's the mythicist.
Oh no, I think it's somebody else.
Yeah.
Because you weren't here the time when Destin was here, and we interviewed the guy.
Oh, that was David Silverman.
That guy.
Oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, and then
he turned out to be a
that one
skeevy guy too.
Like a week later, later.
In what way?
He got fired from the atheist, whatever it's called, the organization that he was the president of, because of sexual harassment. I want to say,
yeah.
I don't know that. I mean, it wasn't like
maybe I did hear.
It wasn't like Harvey Weinstein level. It was like it was like.
We have a scale, right? From
it was. I think it was like more than Aziz Ansari, less than Harvey Weinstein.
Well, I go from Aziz Ansari up to Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby, I don't even know.
There's a scale.
Weinstein's less than Bill Cosby?
Weinstein is ever so slightly less, I think.
Because
he
didn't
less.
Maybe.
He didn't actually drug.
He just uses power and authority.
He didn't go to the drug part. You're right. That's the distinction.
So if you use power
and
authority,
both were really bad.
I'd say Kevin Spacey is in the middle, right in the middle.
Yeah.
And then
I thought Louis C.K. was in the middle.
No, he's further to the end.
Oh, it's closer to Aziz.
Yeah.
Or is he closer to?
No, he actually pulls out his penis and masturbates in public. That's a little more.
What about?
Okay,
that's a little.
That's closer.
What about
to
I would put Gian Gameshi, like slightly under Harvey Weinstein, I guess.
He's up there.
Yeah, because that was a lot more like violent-y and...
He only had so much power, I guess.
We got to make a spectrum.
I'm still mad about it.
Yeah, and it's got to like be pictographic with like the worst pictures, the worst headshots of like every one of them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then you know when you're defining what somebody did.
The gradient of filth.
You could be like, oh, so what happened to that person? Well, they ended up on the sex offender scale of
right between Cosby and Weinstein.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right up there.
It was it for you.
Lawrence Krauss was this year too.
That was just disappointing. Yeah. I mean, but it was like disappointing. It was like, it doesn't surprise me.
And what was
That's what that was like. Huh?
I don't know any of these people. Like
Lawrence Krauss is a prolific atheist and physicist who kind of does a lot of public outreach, blah, 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 and frequent guest on Sam Harris's show. Although not since that shit came out. And Sam Harris was like, "No, I'm not. I don't really believe him, and I'm not having him on my show." He said that, anyways. So there, and.
It took a little bit.
No, it didn't. No, it was like the day after everything came out, he like canceled an event with him.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, yeah, him and Matt Dillahunty, but they still talked about it on stage and they were like, well, we got to see what happens, see what comes out.
Yeah, but
more sexual harassment. Can I just assume that
like
all
a
of
week
these
later, it was
people
like,
are
but
sexual
the
harassment?
next podcast he did, he clarified and he said, like, because I believe the women.
Well, good.
That's what he said. Anyways, and not Sam Harris, but no, Lawrence Krauss. He's just kind of one of these like really, you can just tell like these schmarmy science guys just think they're better than God. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's. Yeah. The look on your face,
you can just tell.
Basically, told me, you know that like woman to woman, like and you're like, I
well,
do.
you're in science,
okay. Yeah, it's like, no, I know what you mean.
Not in the like, not him way, but the
It's like, well, I could see that. But that's like basically any, like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Not to paint all with a broad
One of
brush,
the funniest things that I remember from the year is when Lisa sang the Gummy Bear theme song.
Oh, yeah.
Before we took our summer break. Yeah. That was.
And then I was asked to speak in Irish. Is that the same one?
I think so.
Possibly.
The top of the morning thing. Anyways, that was nice.
That was a fun one.
That
was when we had the Credible Hulk on.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Matthew Loftus.
Who did I like? When did we... Oh, God, there's so many guests. I don't... Like, they're all... The one who was the Polly chick.
Oh, Jeannie Eichert.
She was super interesting. She was so... And she let me ask her all sorts of questions that, you'd normally be like, it's not polite to ask. But, like, she was like, no, ask anything. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah, that was a really good one. That was a really, really good one.
Yeah.
I want to know.
She's a cool person.
Yeah.
No, we really got to get in depth with like our thought process on everything.
And was Aaron Rabbi on this last year? Or no?
I think he was.
Before that?
I think he was 2017.
Okay, what about the other guy who like? There's.
Although I did talk to him this year about objective morality.
Okay.
During the summer, I had that interview.
Oh, we had Dusty Smith.
Yeah,
he was alright.
Forgot about him. That was surreal.
That was Dan's favorite.
Yeah, Dan was like a huge fanboy. He was like, "Oh my god!" And then there was that time, "Oh my god!" Such a thing. Oh my god!
It was surreal for me because I watched a lot of his stuff, and like I wasn't like a huge fan, but it was kind of weird, like actually talking to the dude. Like I was like, oh,
so some people like never heard of like that guy. I'm like, whatever. The guys, there was two of them, and one of them was in California, and the other one was somewhere else. And
they were good.
What were their names?
I don't remember now.
Kevin and Benedict.
No, there were two.
Did you have Kevin?
Because we only had Kevin on from that show.
No, there were two. It was before you. It was like Peter. No, that's not a name.
One of them had like some health condition or something. I remember.
I'm sorry, but I remember
Semi-Intellectual Musings guys.
There you go.
Phil and Matt.
Yes.
From Semi-Intellectual
Yes, they were so good.
They were good.
And I don't know, I just really enjoyed them, and I just thought they were smart and
their show doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
At least, I mean, Phil's busy doing his PhD.
Okay. Yes, those guys, yes.
And Matt is taking a break and being a stay-at-home dad while he does a different podcast now.
Good. Also, what about the lawyer guy we have on sometimes? The guy from BC.
Ian.
That guy's good.
Bushfield.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
Not actually a lawyer.
But isn't he a lawyer student or something?
Well, he runs BC Humanists.
Okay.
Doesn't he know? But he has some law credentials of some kind, does he not?
Well, the Kevin guy.
Not
Kevin
officially, yeah.
Really?
Is in law school, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin did. Yeah.
No, it's just the one guy. Anyways.
Yeah, Kevin almost actually.
I'm so bad. You see what I take home from the podcast? I'm just like, there was a guy. He had eyes. Like,
you remember that guy? We talked to him via Skype, and we could see each other.
It's like super cool. Whatever.
No, I would say like I'm looking back at further years than this, but one of my favorite moments of the podcast actually, and it was a tense one actually, was when we had a conversation back at the original studio.
Right.
And we were having a conversation about kind of like religion and its responsibility for for certain behavior, right? And that was really interesting because I was like kind of like we had a much different crew at the time, and people were very anti-theist, I think, at that time. So yeah, like I was kind of arguing from a sociological perspective, and that was not received very well by most people. But
yeah, no,
that was that was really like one of the best moments in the show in terms of like the conversation that was had was really interesting.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, and
you and Renee kind of were on one side.
Yeah,
and the rest of us were kind of on the other side talking.
Yeah.
And
what are those?
But it made for a great conversation.
We were discussing Islam and whether or not it was responsible or like moderate Muslims were responsible for the actions of extremists.
Oh.
Yeah, like is the existence of the religion kind of the catalyst,
the impetus? Yeah, and like how much do moderate adherents? How much of that responsibility do they carry with them?
Yeah. And what did you think?
Well, a lot of us really thought that. I think me and Mike and Gumby at the time thought that kind of like everybody that is part of that religion carries a certain amount of the weight of the actions of the worst adherents.
So how do you feel now with all these atheists now being sexual harassers and being part of it, right?
I mean, I changed my mind before that. But.
Yeah,
That's actually kind of funny. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as much as like, yeah, I'm obviously not a fan of religion and stuff, it's like...
Yeah.
I mean,
like I can't be blamed for the actions of others. So how?
That's the thing. Like I don't.
If you're on the sidelines, being like, "Oh yeah, totally," God wants that. Go for it. I'm not going to do it, but you totally should.
Particularly when they're part of a marginalized community in Canada, and there are people who are like actually trying to like keep them from gaining equal treatment and equal access and equal rights.
Yeah. It's kind of like, and actually this connects to the Yellow Vest movement because they're very much of the opinion that like any Muslim stronghold in Canada of any sort, like having them have a community and having them have any kind of say in anything is like dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
like they're the people that flip out when they see halal on a can of soup, right?
Yes.
So I would say, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Please finish, Dave. Okay. Well, I would say that, like, you can see the argument, like, somebody who's, like, say, Muslim or Christian or whatever is just paving the way for somebody to be, if that's a good thing to be yet more so, right? Like, to, like, I believe in the Quran, just all the way and totally literally, or the Bible or whatever. You could make that argument. However, I would make the pragmatic argument that it is unlikely that you're going to be able to take, very devout Muslims and make them atheists. However, you may be able to take very devout Muslims and make them more moderate and have different interpretations.
Definitely.
And then I think that would be to the benefit of everything. And I would, everyone in society, and I would argue that that's largely what's happened with Christianity, right? Like it's, and even, I know a lot of people who are like Christian and, would say that they're Christian and believe in God at some level, or, they just don't take it to like,
they're just really moderate.
Fundamental. Yeah. And I would say that's a good thing. And it's a good thing for atheists. It's just a good thing for society. So from a pragmatic perspective, I think there's actually a lot that can be done in terms of, the best person to help de-escalate extreme, say, Muslims would be a more moderate Muslim, right? Not an atheist.
Person of that
an
same
atheist
religion,
is going to shut them down, right? Like, there's just no way.
True.
Yeah, I think
you have a responsibility to denounce and to try and influence where you can. Just like, obviously, like in the atheist community, we're going to call out that kind of bullshit, or at least we should, right? But I know there's a lot of like protectionist, like, no, they're one of us, they can do no wrong, and I'm not for that.
Yeah.
So I would say the same sort of thing is that if you're, I I don't know. I don't know how anybody's a Catholic anymore after all of everything. But if you're still a Catholic and you're giving money to that,
yeah, see,
you kind of are directly responsible, right?
Yeah. Like not every person who identifies as Muslim is giving money to an organization that is funding something negative, right?
Yeah. One of the interesting things that I didn't get brought up in that conversation, but I read a lot about later, like in terms of the evidence, is that it supports that religion is a bad predictor of certain behaviors anyway. Like that socioeconomic factors are actually a better predictor of like violence and of certain laws and things like that. Like,
like all the homophobic Christians turn out to get caught with like gay lovers all the time anyway. Yeah. So if you just went by their doctrine, they shouldn't be doing gay things.
So like to say like there's more terrorism attacks in this country because they're Muslim. It's like it's actually no, if the socioeconomic status of that country influences that way more than anything else. Yeah. Like when you have religious people in a situation that there's good economy and good access to resources, like that violence doesn't occur in the same way, right?
But then people make the argument that a lot, like for example, the hijackers in 9/11, a lot of them were highly educated from middle class families. Like they weren't, but they had, they were indoctrinated into some pretty extreme beliefs, right? Like,
that's similar to a lot of like well-off white guys who are being indoctrinated into white supremacist groups, like that are violent groups.
It's saying that the specific religion isn't the predictor. Is the idea.
So it's like religion is a useful tool for indoctrination.
And if people are,
but it could be any religion. It's not because it's Muslim or because it's this. It's just you happen to
any sort of extreme evidence supported idea
will lead you down that path of believing slightly more extreme.
And it could even be propaganda disguised as science too. Like that could do the same thing to indoctrinate people, and it has in the past, right?
Yeah. Oh, so, like anti-vaxxers are straight up indoctrinated.
Anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. And they're using bad science to talk about it.
Or racist, right? Like
that's right.
Yeah.
The point being, we should all be basing our beliefs on evidence.
Well, do we fully do that? Do I do that with everything in my life? I mean, we would like to, but there's probably some cognitive dissonance going on there.
I think we all try, but we all have cognitive biases and heuristics we use, that shortcuts in thinking that stop us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part to use that in is in interpersonal relationships, like in how you provide discipline, how you do how you communicate with others. Like that's the part where the science is like way harder to.
There's a lot of psychology going on. Like people, I mean, they're so interesting. Like the stuff that they can come out with now. Like, it turns out this is a really effective way to convince someone to change their opinion, or this is this way is totally ineffective. And it's just interesting. Like
we actually know a lot more than people give us credit for sometimes as humans, and it's just that people.
We're as social scientists.
Like we don't practice it in our daily lives. That's the difference. So some of it we do. Some of it becomes pop psychology, and then you kind of, you do that. But
and often once that happens, then it becomes like misused.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. All right, let's cue that outro music.
The outro music one last time. Here we go. Comes.
All right. For all the things, you can check out the show notes at our website, brainstormblog.net, and on our hosting page, thebrainstormpodcast.com. Thanks to our financial supporters, Driffa, Kayla, Kim, Stephanie, Zach, the Utah Outcasts, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Bob Glenn, Destin Doesn't Suck That Much, Magnus, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave, Positively Skeptical, Rob, the Podunk Polymath, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, Sauce Upon Him, Freethinker 215, and Larry. I swear, if we ever hit 20 patrons, I will stop reading all of them.
What happened to Dustin Sucks? Damn it.
You can change your name now.
Does fucking suck. Where the fuck are you, Dustin?
If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Or go buy some stuff at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. This is normally where I would mention the next live show, but we probably won't be live until I figure this shit out. So
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Everyone.
But we will be posting on Facebook and Twitter to let everybody know what's going on. Big thanks to James Fell for joining us. You can find more of his stuff at bodyforwife.com. So make sure to check that out. Thanks to everybody who came out tonight. And thank you, Dave, for doing the studio thing.
Thank you.
We love you.
It's been a slice.
All right. Thanks for the intro music, Dave. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from Embrace the Void for doing the voiceover. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our ads. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Make sure to tune in to our brainstormafterhours.com for the bonus content. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our subreddit, sign up for our newsletter, share the show, and spread the word. The more you share, comment, and like our stuff, the more it helps the show grow. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel, any guests, or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.